Hey, we're here in the Cassville art room, and we're going to take a pot that we had made over on the potter's wheel using the first two videos on our YouTube channel. And we're going to take this pot, we're actually going to put some glaze on it. And glaze is the coloring, or putting a color coating on the outside of a first fired, and this has one firing clay pot. All right, so at this point this clay is actually solid, and you know, if you dropped it, it would shatter as opposed to just falling apart when it's green. Okay, so this now is ready, and it's kind of a pinkish shade. It is ready to take glaze. So, okay, to do that, we'll lay down a sheet of paper on the table because I don't want any of the glaze on the table, right? Just to keep things clean. The glaze is a material; it's not actually like paint, so it is a material that will wipe up with just water on like a sponge or something. So if you do get some on the table, make sure you wipe it up right away. But for the most part, paper underneath will help keep it cleaner. Okay, so the pot's sitting on paper, and then we come over here to this cabinet. We have a cabinet here that says glazes for ceramics. Okay, and it gives some directions on, you know, how to take care of the cabinet and keep things organized and whatnot. Okay, so we open this up, and we see in here there is labeled sections of color, okay, for the different glazes. So for instance, up here on the top left side we have red glazes, okay, and the red glazes go from true red to pretty and pink to firecracker red, red halo, so on and so forth. Okay, so these are all reds. Purples will be up here in the right hand corner, so purple glazes. And you notice in some cases, like right here, the pretty and pink, there's another one back behind. Okay, and we can see this one had already been opened, so we'll use the one that's been opened first. Okay, but there's some cases there's two bottles of the same color, so make sure the one that's opened first gets used first. All right, so blue glazes. All right, whole shelf of them. Some orange glazes right here. These are kind of our neutral colors, and I don't have that label, but they're kind of a neutral color, so you're looking at black and white. All right, yellow glazes are on the far right-hand side over here. Okay, we don't have a huge selection of that, but again, you don't need a real big selection. Green glazes. Okay. And then a couple of browns over on the right side. These are all like an underglaze. We don't typically use these. They were just here when I got here, so we just kind of made a shelf for them. So don't worry too much about these glazes. If you're interested, we could probably look up again how to use them or read the directions on them. I guess it'd probably tell us how to use them. I've never really used them. I like this type of glaze. So, but if you are interested, we could go with those. And then at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shelf down, there's a little plastic container here, and it says glaze samples or colors. All right. Okay, we're going to take this over to our table, and inside of here there's little squares of clay that have been fired once. They were made green and fired once, then with a glaze coat and a number put on the back side. Okay, so if we look at each one of these bottles, we can see there's a number on the very front with a Sharpie. Okay, you coordinate the sample piece here with the number, and this sample piece will give you the actual color this is going to turn out after it's been fired. Okay, red halo in the bottle is going to look like a black. When it's fired, it's going to look red. Okay, so once it goes through the kiln one more time, it'll look red.
It's going to look red.
So this will give you the true color. Glazes in the bottle.
Glaze in the bottle, remember that.
Take this over. So now we're just gonna go through this thing. We're just, we can go through some of these glazes, find out what we like. All right. And I'm just gonna take this one here. I kind of like this look for this pot that I have.
Great.
Yeah, it sure is pretty. And the back side says number 5.
5.
All right. So I'm gonna go over to the cabinet, and you can see here there's a big selection. Again, all the colors that are up there. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the cabinet. I'm going to get number 5. Number 5, that was the one I was showing you before?
5. Yep.
5. Okay. Oh, I forgot to explain the brushes. There's a coffee can up here with brushes that we have dedicated just to glazes. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over too. This is number 1. We're going to choose a brush. Okay, and I'm going to put this color on the inside of the pot. All right. On the outside of the pot, I may choose a second color. I can take the second color, put it on the pot, I could drip a third color down it. Or I could draw a design out and paint a design in with whatever colors I need. Okay? So I can put color on top of color on top of color with glaze on this. Okay? Again, whatever design it is you're after, you could sketch out a design and then sketch down here, take the different colors, paint it. You can just do something as simple as, you know, one solid color. To me, that's kind of boring, but so I like to use 2 or 3 colors. So I'm going to suggest for about every pot or ceramic piece you make, 2 to 3 colors minimum. Okay, because this makes them look a little bit neater. For this one here, I'm gonna probably use 3 or 4 different colors. But for the purpose of the video, I like to keep it short, so I'm just gonna color the inside and get the idea. Okay. All right. Now, on the back side, you can come up closer here. Okay, I guess it's kind of on the side of the glaze container itself. There is a little definition of instructions here. Okay, so the first direction says shake the jar. The second one says you apply 3 coats, okay, for a certain cone, and we fire at a cone 4. Okay, so we want to make sure there are 3 coats of this glaze on this pot. Simple enough?
Hope so.
So, first thing I want to do again is shake. These glazes can tend to, just from sitting in the cabinet, they can tend to kind of dry up a little bit. If they do dry up, come see me. We'll add a little bit of water to them, stir them up. They should be good to go again. Okay. I've had cases where they dry solid, and then of course we just have to throw them away and get new ones. But for the most part, I like to make sure that my students keep the lids on tight. Okay, so to do that, when you're done glazing, if you get a bunch of excess material around the inside of the lid, around the outside of the lip, in this case there's not a lot of extra. This could maybe possibly be cleaned up, but for the most part the lid screws on nice and easy and goes tight. Okay, if you get a lot of excess material, just make sure you take paper towels or whatever it takes to clean it off. Okay, and in order to make sure the lid gets screwed all the way on and tight. That'll keep this this glaze from drying out.
Art.
All right.
Art.
Okay, the purpose of shaking this is some of these glazes have particulates inside that are solids, and they sink to the bottom. So we want to make sure those get mixed up so that when we go to glaze, we have the true color that this needs to be. And when we open up this bottle, we can see inside. Okay, I don't know if the camera will be able to see it, but you can see inside there, you can see all kinds of little red particulates in there. And that's the type of stuff I was talking about that we need to get.
You can't see that.
You can't see it? Okay.
It's just black.
Alright, but anyway, there are some red particulates in there. You maybe see it when I put it on the pot itself.
Hope so.
And we just want to make sure that gets mixed up. Okay? For doing the inside of this pot, I'm going to use the big brush. Again, we have different size brushes for whatever type of pattern it is you want to do, all the way from large to really super small, right? Okay, so it depends on how much detailed work you need to get done. Alright? For this, in this case, I'm just going to do the solid color inside. I'm going to take the glaze and I'm actually just going to dump it in. Okay, so I dumped it in there. And I'm going to take the pot and I'm just going to roll it around. Okay, and this says 3 coats. I have material in there. Okay, so I'm just going to take, I'm going to let it set for a minute. It'll actually start to dry. The clay naturally absorbs the water from the glaze, so it dries rather quickly. Okay, and then I'm going to roll it a second time. I'm going to kind of get a cool looking little pattern in there. So, okay. And I'm going to let it sit for a minute or so. And then I'm going to roll it a third time. That's kind of like my 3 coats.
Oh. Right. Yeah, that wasn't really a minute. That was more like 5 seconds.
I know, but we're purpose of the video. Okay,
oh.
Keep it short. All right, okay, and then once I'm done with that, I'm just going to dump the material out back into the container. So all the extra stuff I don't need. Okay, so you see I kind of get a cool look here. There we go. Maybe I'll get some more material here. There we go.
Uh-oh. Got some on the paper. That's not good.
Okay, see why I had the paper down, right?
Mm-hmm. Me too. Uh-oh.
Okay, and then I'm going to allow that to dry in there. Alright. We'll grab a second color here. So we'll go with another red. So let's go number 2. Here, so we use True Red.
True red.
True Red. Shake it up. Okay, and they can tend to do that. They'll, you know, sitting over the summer, they tend to get a little bit dry and the lid comes off hard. All right, I'm just going to take my brush and I'll dip this in here. Okay, I'm going to paint this on.
It looks pink.
Right. What did I say? When it gets fired, it looks what?
Red.
Exactly. It looks different. Okay, so I do one coat, and I'm just going to do this little section here. I allow it to dry, and again, it takes a minute. You can see here around this edge right here. You see it already started to dry there. Here's starting to dry. So again, it dries real fast. Okay, so that was one coat. Take my brush. I'm going to do a second coat. Now, what I would prefer, obviously, is that this other color that I'd put in here, so the inside color, that's not completely dry yet. So make sure it's dry before you put the brush into it, right? If you're going to overlap the colors. Because if it's not dry, the brush will pick up that color, and then you put it back here in the True Red, and it contaminates the True Red, right?
Just gets all messed up.
Your True Red, don't then put in another color. Go and wash your brush out. All you gotta do is run it under water. It washes out real easy. Okay, and then you can use it then in another color. So again, don't mix the colors in the container, is what I'm saying. Okay? Alright. Again, I would take more time. I'd make sure that this is nice and glazed. 3 different coats with the design I want. And I would put the glazes back. Clean up it is, as I said, clean the brush out, clean the container up if you have to. Make sure the samples are closed and the brushes and everything all go back in the cabinet, and again organized in the color area they go. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's not just throw them in there wherever we want to in the red section. Make sure the True Red goes in front of the other True Red, so on and so forth throughout the cabinet. Okay?
What about the outside?
Things easier to use for the next person.
What about the outside?
Outside what?
Pot.
The pot? Well, I would take in whatever design I want, glaze the outside too.
Why don't you do it?
The purpose of the video, we'll just keep it short.
So you're gonna teach them saying not to glaze the outside of the pot?
No, you gotta glaze the outside of the pot.
Well, then you gotta demonstrate how doing it.
No,
what if
that's not enough video.
somebody could just dump all of it on there? And
I know you guys just love seeing me in my face in the video. Let's keep it simple. All right. Okay, so the cameraman says no more glazing, right, cameraman?
When I watch this video, I'm not glazing the outside of the pot.
Okay, that's fine.
Because you taught me not to.
My cameraman. There he is. All right. Well, that concludes our video on glazing ceramics. Again, no matter what it is, pots or sculpture piece, and we go from there. All right.
Okay.
Done.